Yo, it's your host again, the one and only Yanofromchicago, and this is 101 Sports Talk. Let's go. All right, we are back once again. This is 101 Sports. I am your host, Yanofromchicago. Welcome back. All right. So as you guys know, the last video was done pretty good. A lot of traction. We posted the video where, like I said, I predicted that the Chicago Bears will go ahead and hire Ben Johnson as their head coach. As you guys know, the news broke a couple days ago. He did take the head coaching position that was offered to him. They interviewed him. So he is now the head coach of Chicago Bears. Well, you heard that news here first. We dropped it 24 hours before it even came out, before it went public. Actually, I think I dropped the video in the middle of the Lions game. I wanted to get it out prior to the game, but just with it being on the weekend, I have a lot going on outside of this podcast here, or this show that we got going on for you. So, with that being said, man, yeah, we were kind of up on read the tea leaves and had a vision that this will happen. Just seeing based on the Chicago Bears history, what they like to do, what they have now. I just had a vision that it would be a perfect fit, and I saw it happening. With that being said, we got some big games coming up this week. We had some big performances this past weekend. Saquon Barkley went crazy. The Ravens and the Bills game was a tough game. Came down to the, 2-point conversion, or it's going to probably go to overtime. Which, hey, if y'all do Prize Picks, just a shout out to Prize Picks. I was very close to, winning some extra bread. So I had my fingers crossed hoping that it went to some OT. But it did not. But it was a good game, man. It was a lot of good games this past weekend, as far as the NFL. This past week, you did have Notre Dame lose to Ohio State. So shout out to Ohio State and everybody, all of Buckeyes Nation that, brought home the natty. Congratulations to Ryan Day and all of his players. Big shout out to y'all. Y'all, that you guys had a nice run. You played some tough teams. I think they ended up going like 14-2 throughout the season. So shout out to them. That was, this was a tough year, very competitive. Even the playoffs itself was competitive. We had some good teams in there. That's just my opinion. What I want to get into, speaking of college football, a lot of people have been requesting to hear some of my inputs as far as the draft goes. And with that being said, I kind of got a little list I've been working on. I don't like to start looking at the list or the mocks and stuff like that until the season's over with, because you know exactly where people are going to go. And even then, you really don't know what's going to happen until trades are made, free agency happens. That's when you start to really see or get more information. See who's really talking about moving up, who's wanting us, possibly trade up. Some players get released, so team needs and fits change, coaches change. So it's a lot that some people are mocking things now, but really no one knows just yet outside of maybe that top 10. Those 10 guys, typically those are the guys are blue chip players. Those are the guys that they're probably going to be the best at their position, if not the best. There'll be a day one starter for sure, maybe even a presence, immediate presence on the field. So those type of guys, if you're not going to wait and see, if they're going to be there later in the round. You kind of if there is BPA, best player available, you want to take the highest person on your board. those top 10 are pretty much on everybody's board. So, with that being said, though, a lot of guys been talking about, top quarterbacks, top running backs, top receivers coming out. So I did make a little short list for you guys. I'm going to go ahead and get into my list. Also, what's on the big boards as well. So right now, who's going 1 and 2 as far as the big board, as far as some scouts are saying that it's going to be Shadeur going number 1. Some people, I say number 1, first quarterback off the board. Let me clear that up. First quarterback off the board may be Shadeur Sanders. Some people are saying it's going to maybe Cam Ward out of Miami, which he had a solid season. Balled out in the bowl game and then ended up, playing to halftime, and then he took himself out, for business purposes, what some people say, just because, he had already had, a heck of a half. I think he had like 3 touchdowns. I don't know how many yards he had at that point, but he was balling, so he had nothing else to prove. Miami ended up losing in that bowl game. They weren't in the college playoffs, but they had a bowl game that they were playing for, so some people was kind of giving them slack about that. So if you hear that in April around the draft, people kind of mentioning that, you could take it however you want, you know what I mean? Like, he was protecting his future. Like, who's to say if he finishes the game, he gets hurt or injured, and now he can't actually do his pro day, or he can't go to the Shrine Bowl or whatever, if he had any other plans, or compete in the combine, who's to say? So, him and his agents may have thought that was the best decision for his future, which we'll see. He's still up there as far as consideration, as far as a candidate to go 1 or 2 as far as quarterback off the board. Now, with this list here that I'm going to give you guys, I'm going to give you the guys who are on the big boards, and then I'm going to give you my hidden guy. My guy who I think could be a sleeper. Someone who can actually creep up the board or actually just get, drafted and actually become a good quarterback or a good player. Now, the guy that I like the most on the rise or under the radar right now is Kyle McCord. Out of Syracuse. Now, he started off at Ohio State, his freshman and sophomore year. Even played his junior year there. Now, freshman year he didn't play. He played his sophomore year, and he played his junior year, which they lost to Michigan. And that's one of his losses on his record. But this year, dude threw for. Oh, let me take it back. So, in the Ohio State offense, last season they weren't as geared. The offense wasn't as geared towards like asking him to pass or be the engine that made everything go. They kind of was like, don't lose the game. They kind of like let him be a game manager. He went to Syracuse this year. He threw for 4,700 yards, almost 5,000 yards, 4,779 to be exact. 34 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. It's not a bad, touchdown to interception ratio. 66% on his completion rating. QBR was 148. That's not too bad. You know what I mean? He didn't just like burst on the scene as well. He was a 4-star recruit. So he has a lot of talent. In his career, in 2024, he lost 3 games. Now, he lost 3 games. One game was against Ohio State. The other one was against Michigan as well. So he's only lost to like kind of tougher competition. So right now, I'll say one of my biggest sleepers is going to be Kyle McCord at the quarterback position. All right. So I'm going to give you him, a guy on the rise who may rise during the actual draft process. A name you may want to listen to or look out for. He quarterbacked the Notre Dame Fighting Irish this year. Riley Leonard. He transferred from Duke. He's a good kind of dual threat quarterback. He kind of showed a few things in the championship game that I think may, have scouts intrigued. Now, next person here. So the guy that people are talking about as far as the running back position, it's kind of like hands down. Everybody is saying Ashton Jeanty is definitely number one running back, which, he went crazy this season. So I could definitely see him being, why he's the consensus number one running back, in my opinion. He almost broke Barry Sanders' record that's been standing for, almost 30 years. So, rightfully so. Now, everybody's subject to their own opinion, and mine is sometimes a little bit subject. It's like my opinion. I don't always go with the consensus. I go off a few different things. My eye test. What have I seen? What, when I watched them play, what did I take from it? What have they done against, competition? How do they look? Are they a dog? Like, do they like competition? You know what I mean? Now, my guy that I like that's going under the radar now, he plays for Iowa. Kaleb Johnson, number 2. Now, I don't know how to kind of explain Caleb's game or comparison, but his explosiveness, I could see because he's so big. He's 6'2", 225 pounds. So he's a bigger guy and kind of taller. But he kind of reminds me, when I first saw him, this is first initial seeing him without knowing much about him. He kind of gave me like the Ty Gurley vibes, like when he was like with the Rams, you know what I mean? Like where he was a bigger guy, he could catch. He's kind of like a zone back where he's like a one cut, but if he beats you to the outside, like he's gone, like you can't catch him. A bigger guy, so he's he's going to win a lot of one-on-one matchups against smaller opponents. And he could catch, and outside of Ashton Jeanty's season of going for $2 bills on, $2,000 on the ground, himself, Kaleb Johnson was right behind him. He had, over 1,500 yards rushing, 240 carries. So he didn't do it on, 400 touches or whatever. He did it on a, decent amount of actual touches, 21 touchdowns. He averaged 6.4 per carry through the year. He even had 22 receptions and 2 touchdowns. So he's, shown that he can catch the ball, dual threat, out the backfield. Some people's knock on him is that, he had one really productive season at Iowa, which was this past season. And to kind of put it in perspective, what I mean, like production, so this kid only had 4 games where he didn't rush for over 100 yards this year. All right, you heard me right. Out of 12, he only didn't go over 100 yards 4 times. 2 of those times, one he had 98 yards rushing. The other game he had 86 yards rushing, and I think he had 49 yards receiving and a touchdown. So he figured out how to impact the game through his career. So when he started off, I don't think Iowa, his freshman year, he wasn't starting. He was just actually a backup. That's typically how it goes. He's a freshman, he's a backup. And they were playing Nevada. Things were kind of going back and forth. Nobody's putting any points on the board. And, they got him in the game. He got in the game, opened up a big run down the sideline. And, kind of rest was history. They started to give him more and more, feed him more and more. And then he became their starting back. in his sophomore year, which was a down year. So if you go look up his stats, I'm like, hey, I heard Yanofromchicago telling me about Kaleb Johnson. Let me go look it up. And you look up his stats and you go look it up and you're like, man, I don't know what he's talking about. Like, he don't know what he's talking about. Go look at some of the actual games. Go look against game against Minnesota this year. Go look and see what he did to Purdue. Purdue in 2022. He tore them up in 2022. But when you watch him, it's not about like what he does on every carry. All he needs is really one carry, and he can score. You know what I mean? He's that explosive. Like he can catch it out the backfield and be gone. You know what I mean? So he doesn't need a ton of carries. So he may not have to start off being your like bell cow back, but even having him in the backfield and the threat of scoring every time he touches it, that's when you really got a dynamic player. And I don't think that he's going to go in the first round. Maybe in the back end of the second. Maybe even the third. Maybe he doesn't even, he comes out in the third. The running back position is a little bit undervalued. But go check him out. You're gonna be like, man, Yano told me about Kaleb Johnson, like, back in January. So when you see his name come up and you see his name get called, don't be surprised. Kid's explosive, man. You're gonna like him. Last year, 2024, started off the year. His first 4 games, he had 119 yards. He had 87 yards, 173 yards, and then he had a 206-yard game. And then those 2 games that he didn't go over 100 yards, one was against Michigan State, and the other one was against Ohio State. So remember, he's playing in the Big Ten. You got a lot of physical defenses in the Big Ten, and it's not one of them. He didn't really. Through his career, never really had a good game. So you can go back and do your history on him, check it out, and tell me what your thoughts are on Kaleb Williams. I hope he plays with Kaleb Williams. I'm gonna say that. I hope Kaleb Johnson gets drafted by the Bears. So I hope he plays with Kaleb Williams. But with that being said, let's go to the receivers, the wideouts. A lot of people like the receiver out of Arizona, T-Mac. I can't pronounce his first name. Tetairoa, McMillan. They call him T-Mac, number 4. I like him. He kind of remind me of like Mike Evans. You know what I mean? With a little bit more. I can't even say that. Mike Evans had some yak back when he was coming out of A&M, Texas A&M. Go do your homework. That's get that man Mike Evans. I may do a video on Mike Evans. That's a living legend, and people don't give him his respect, man. Give him Mike Evans his flowers, dog. That is a walking gold jacket, bro. Man, every year he'd been in the career, he didn't put up 1,000 yards. Give him his respect, man. I think a lot of people talk about Tyreek Hill and Jay Jettas and Chase and CD. Mike Evans been doing it, man. He been one of them. He been one of them ones from the beginning. But I think McMillan kind of has a similar body type. They both like 6'5". Kind of lull you to sleep on those like fly routes where you think they kind of in slow motion, but them long strides just kind of like they get to picking them up on you and they just fly right past you, and then next thing you know he's 6'5", so all they gotta do is kind of throw it over the top, and you can't get over the top of him. And he's like 210, 215. Explosive after the catch, very physical. But a lot of people have him going number 1. As the top receiver, it's no doubt about it. He's gonna be the first receiver off the board. Some people have him. I know he's a lock for the top 10. Some people even have him in like the top 5. So you can go ahead, check him out, check his tape out. You'll be impressed. He got some crazy catches out there on YouTube. Phenomenal talent. Now, Another name. Now, this isn't my guy, but this is a name that's like I've been hearing a lot lately, seeing a lot lately, like through scouts and stuff like that, people I follow. So you're gonna hear this name out of TCU. You're gonna hear Savion Williams, another big guy, very explosive. Now, even though he's big, he's more of the who's that guy? Quentin Johnston out of the Chargers. Similar style to his game, same school. They both came out of TCU. I think he's just a little bit bigger. Quentin Johnston, I think it was like 6'3", so he's even a little bit bigger. But his name I keep seeing. Like I said, it's not my guy, but I think my guy in this draft as far as the receiver. Now I'll give that to my guy out of Ohio State, and that's going to be Emeka. Egbuka. You heard that right. But no, one of them ones. If you don't know about him, man, he is silent superstar. He's going in the first round. He could have went out in the first round a couple years ago. He didn't. He went back to school. Of course, this year he won a national championship. So shout out to him. Shout out to Emeka getting his natty before he went to the league. I know that was something that I guess was important to him because he had a lot of opportunities to, already go out and be, a first round receiver. But with that being said, I think some health concerns is the reason why he went back, And then what I like the most about him, what people don't know is, like, he leads Ohio State or broke their all-time record for, like, receptions. So the dude, like, just know how to catch, like, just know how to get open, just knows how to beat coverage, knows how he's explosive. Through his career, he averaged 14 yards per catch. Production as far as touchdowns, over 25 plus touchdowns. But the thing is, he's always played with great receivers and he's always produced. So that's what I like the most. Like, he's played, you got to think, he played with Chris Olave. He played with Jackson Smith-Njigba. He played with Marvin Harrison Jr. He played with Garrett Wilson. He's played with now Jeremiah Smith. And I may be forgetting a couple other guys in there. Please forgive me. But those are the notable names that he's already played and been on the same team with and still has broke the record. Caught more balls than all of them. So I wouldn't be surprised if he not only goes, I know he's going in the first round, but if he goes, top 15, top 20, I wouldn't be shocked. You got to go look at his tape and you're going to be like, yo, he one of them ones. And somebody going to get a straight dog. Like, go check out his game against Oregon. Both, in the playoffs and, in the beginning of the year. They couldn't hang with him. He was the only person that seemed like he had brought it. You know what I mean? So I would say he kind of reminds me of, and none of these are actual comps, bro. I'm just saying they kind of remind me, they're similar. I'm not trying to put this is this guy. Some people, come in these and they make these videos and they make them like player comparisons. It's just saying that if you've just watched this video and you've never seen him, and you like, okay, I just heard this guy's name, but I've never seen him. What is he like? What would I think of? So I'm trying to give you a vision as to the type of player until you see him yourself, and then you can make the decision on as to what kind of player you think he is. And if you like, come back and drop it down in the comments and tell me if you agree, if you disagree, or hey, I kind of seen that comparison, or hey, I think he kind of remind me of this. I'll be like, you know what? I forgot all about him. That's a good comparison. So please, you watch this video, man, you check out any of these players, feel free to drop down in the comments and tell me if you agree, you disagree, or who you think they remind you of. Or tell me some players that I didn't mention today that you want me to go and look at and check out. I'd be more than happy to do a video for you guys on that. And then another thing that people don't realize with Emeka is, you know what I mean, playing in the Big Ten, not only again with all the, you know, other teams you play and corners you go up against, you know what I mean? Like Will Johnson out of Michigan, he's, you know, been there the past few years. That's going to be a day one starting corner that he's played, you know, probably 4 years. You know what I mean? And it's a couple other corners that's, you know, in the NFL now that he's went up against. I know the Bears have Terrell Smith. He played for Minnesota. You know, he's like their third corner. You know, it's a few other guys that, you know, I know that came out of like Maryland had, you know, Deonte Banks a couple years ago. He plays for the Giants. So that's just to name a few guys that I know that has played in the Big Ten. And, you know, so know that he's played notable competition, people that are starting level corners in the NFL. But he's practiced against, I'm at the move this table. He's practiced against some of these starting level corners as well. Like some of the guys that is on his own team, he's going up against them every day. He's had a lot of corners he went up against that they're in the league. So he's always kind of played higher level competition, and based on these, like his numbers, he's always rose to the top, or, you know, seemed to figure a way to figure it out to succeed. So Emeka Egbuka out of Ohio State, yeah, he one of them. Now the guy as far as the running back, now I kind of didn't really get into the guy that's name's been mentioned, but he actually plays for Ohio State as well, and that's why I kind of wanted to wait till I got on to Emeka Egbuka. But the name, as far as the running back that you may hear his name brought up, mentioned a little bit more, he did have a kind of I know he had a nice championship game. He had a nice run through the playoffs as well. But Ohio State has a two-hitter running back monster back there in their backfield, but Quinshon Judkins, a lot of people you know, realize how dominant of a player he was earlier in the year, especially when that college football came out. He was Mr. 360 himself, you know what I'm saying? So he was always like, you know, spinning around. You know, he has a lot of agility. He's explosive. He's powerful. He can catch, you know what I mean? So he displayed all of that throughout the playoffs, and so he has a lot of scouts, you know, kind of tantalized by his abilities. So those are a few names of some of the guys that's on my quick little list that I've covered or seen or watched as far as like offense, you know, running backs, receivers, quarterbacks. I'm gonna do a little deeper dive. I'm gonna start doing my prospect videos. Let's look at that schedule. Whoa, prospect videos. Now today, I'm gonna drop this today, but the prospect video, you guys can expect that every Tuesday. So, you know, if you want me to, like I said, mention one of your prospects or check them out to be on the video, just get that info in the comments, or like I said, you would be able to get me, you know, contact me in the bio. So if you like, go ahead, contact me. We can go ahead and get that, you know, your episode or your request in on that episode. But we got a few more things coming for you guys. I think the next video that we're gonna do is gonna be geared towards the NBA fans and actual just a wrap up of the NBA, where we're at now, and we're gonna do that weekly. We're gonna just do an update once a week, tap in with the NBA. We're gonna do a NBA wrap up every Wednesday. So that'll be the next one, because I wanted to put that one out yesterday, but we've been having some technical difficulties here in the studios in the production area, but I'm keeping going. This 2025, I can't stop, bro. So I'm trying to put them out for you as much as I can, and I got another series of things that I'm working on to improve this podcast for you. So y'all stay tuned, man. Again, if you haven't already, I am your host, the one and only 101, Yanofromchicago. If you ain't already, man, like, subscribe, share if you care, man. Hey, and always, peace out.